there to the bottom is John Sturdivant. And to my immediate left is Miss Shanae Govan Williams. She is, well, I'll say it, your Crossett Eagles girls head coach from here in Crossett, Arkansas. Shanae, thank you very much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor and a privilege. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to the show.
Shanae, when you look at Crossett, Arkansas, of course, this is a very small town. We're a mill town here. Of course, you're from here. You went to school here. You're an alum, so you know the community very similar to Dominic Lincoln, who we had on the show last
Mhm.
week. Dominic mentioned that he literally gets out and knocks on doors. Is that something? Is that a similar strategy that you take?
You talking about as far as like building the program and like getting
Yes, ma'am.
well, my I'm heavy in the community, like with my mentoring program that I started 3 years ago. So that has opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And I'm also a motivational speaker. I don't know if you knew that, but I think I've used that to help bridge being in the schools, being in the communities, the churches, and stuff like that to help build the program. Because again, I'm pretty sure Dominique told you it's so much bigger than basketball. It's about life. So yeah, that's basically the approach that we have taken in. Yeah.
Shanae, when you look at CrossFit, of course, this is your fourth season here, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, when you look at it, I'll say it like this: it seemed like there was some growing pains. I guess that's a good way to put it. At the beginning of your tenure, first season you were 3-26.
Mm-hmm.
Second year you were 12 and 13. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
12 and
Mm-hmm.
13. Second year. Third year 16-13, and this
Mm-hmm.
year you're 6-4. So, I mean, it doesn't take any genius to look at records and tell that there's definitely been improvement from year one to year four. What would you say is the reason behind that?
Well, when I took over, they had only won 2 games in 5 years.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so yeah, it had been tough taking it over, and so I knew that I was going to inherit a program where I was going to have to rebuild more than anything, and that was starting with the mindsets of my players, because when you're conditioned to losing, it's kind of hard to abandon all those things that you didn't know before, that you knew before. So I just came in with the approach of not worrying about wins and losses at first. I want to work on building character, a work ethic, their self-esteem, their confidence. And then I knew later on, I mean, I didn't think that we would do as well as we did last year, making it to state for the first time in 5 years. But I knew that later on I would begin to see the fruit of my labor, but I knew that it wasn't going to happen overnight. So again, just working on those character traits, work ethic, building their confidence, self-esteem, and just getting them to understand that it's a process to everything. I think that's why I've been able to see such a success in, I wouldn't say a short amount of time, but we jumped from year to year because my players bought in. Yeah.
John, go ahead.
Okay, coach, as an alum, as your school that you're coaching now, what can you tell student athletes at your school that maybe you're coming out for basketball or on your basketball team right now? Like when I was going to tell you my history a little bit, I managed the basketball team in the high school at Bartlett High
Mhm.
School here locally. But my mentor growing up was Coach Hubie Smith, who was the basketball coach at Bartlett at the time.
Mhm.
Because I went to his basketball camps growing up to basically being a major in high school. He was always to the point where grades come first, basketball can come later. What can you tell like a student athlete that's actually maybe like my junior year, for example, I had geometry and Spanish two in high
Mhm.
school, two tough classes. And
Mhm.
a coach would always say, "Hey, Jonathan, don't worry about being our manager today. Don't worry about coming to our games. We'll take care of it because grades come first."
Mhm.
What can you tell an athlete that could be basically struggling, maybe in some classes, that still want to become a part of your basketball program or still on the team? Like maybe they're too shy or too nervous or too scared to even confront a basketball coach like yourself,
Mhm.
and say, "Hey, I want to basically become like they get that new NCAA requirement now, where I believe it's like a 2.3 or 2.5 GPA." What
Mhm.
can you tell a student athlete, that's struggling maybe in their class to say, "Hey, you're still part of our basketball team regardless, grades do come first, and then basketball can come later. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Well, see, for me, um, I think I'm in a unique position being here, being back home. I always tell my players that basketball saved my life, but even after college, playing basketball for 4 years, I had to get my academics, and I wouldn't be in the position that I am today, with a career in coaching had I not taken academics serious. So that's why we do things like we have mandatory study hall twice a week. We really harp on our grades. I reach out to my players. Teachers once a week for like their conduct, their behavior, as well as their academics. And we really just talk about how, hey, student comes before athlete. So I think that our door is always open for that open communication of talking about academics because, my students know, I mean, that comes first. We're already working on, my 7th and 8th graders taking the ACT. So I'm preaching that lingo of academics all the time, just as much as I'm talking about athletics, because I know at the end of the day, I want them to leave my program if they stay from 7th through 12th, and I want them to graduate. I don't just want them to become better athletes. I want them to become better people and to be able to be successful in life after high school. So just, continuously talking about it, not making players feel like, I'm the coach that just wants them to help me go back to the state championship or go back to regionals, but to let them know, hey, I care about your academics. If you're struggling in a class, let's go talk to your math teacher. Let's go see how we can, set you up with a tutor. So just continuously making sure that they know that I understand, I struggle with math as well. So not being, so prideful to be transparent with them and just, teaching them the reality of the situation. Academics, for some, all of them aren't going to make all A's. And I tell my players that, just do your best. But there are requirements. You have to be eligible. There are requirements that you have to meet according to AAA and the NCAA if you do go to college. So let's just try to jump on this ahead of time if we can.
I wish more coaches,
Yeah, most
and
definitely.
I wish more coaches would be like yourself and say, "Hey, we do have a study hall," because a lot of people in the Memphis area, for example, Shelby County schools here locally in Memphis are not playing high school basketball right now in general.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of kids are basically either playing for like how do I say, a private school, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe like a Bartlett High School, which get their own school district, or
Mm-hmm.
Millington to get their own school district as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more schools in general, like yourself, like you just said, would have a study hall 2 times a week
Mm-hmm.
before practice or even before a
Right.
game, a home game, and say, hey, school is we're going to focus on school for like an hour before we do
Absolutely.
shoot around, because a lot of schools these days just go straight to shoot around.
Yep.
They don't worry about
Mhm.
academics or school right away. They
Mm-mm.
worry about game plans right from
Mm-mm.
the start.
Mm-mm.
But I appreciate you doing that as well. Regarding academics do come first.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I would be failing them as their coach by not focusing on that because I have them, you know, a lot of their time. And so, I mean, when I say we have study hall meeting, like we don't practice that day. It's strictly academics.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, like, I mean, I feel like I want to prepare them for life. I don't just say that, but I want to model that and let them know, hey, I care more about just the basketball component because as you just stated, student comes before athlete.
My mom was a school teacher in a school district for like 38 years. That's another reason I bring that up. But yeah, Wes, go ahead.
Yeah. um, Coach, when you look at Crossett, of course, Crossett is obviously near and dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. I know that you were at Lee Academy, which is kind of funny, small world. I went to Rossville Christian Academy, and we used to
Mm-hmm.
play Lee Academy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very funny. Matter of fact, there's a
It's
couple of
Mississippi
different Lee
League.
Academies, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. Yep, in the Mississippi Private School Association. I think Lee Academy's still in it,
They
as a
are.
matter of fact. Rossville played them, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
last night. The Rossville girls team scored
Yeah.
14 points against Lee Academy last night,
Yeah.
so they didn't play well. Um, but when you look at coming from Lee Academy, obviously another school here in Arkansas, but coming back home to Crossett, what really what was the selling point? I mean, obviously it's
Mm-hmm.
home, but what was your motivating factor to come
Mm-hmm.
back home?
Well, the opportunity, let me just lay this out here. I never wanted to coach. Um, all through college, I played basketball at Delta State. and it was my senior year, and my college coach said, "You're gonna coach." It's like, no, I'm not. And so it's ironic. We did a basketball camp, and I got a phone call about the job at Lee Academy, and they asked me. They said, "Hey, we need a basketball coach. Would you be interested?" I'm like, "What?" So I went down there, interviewed. Long story short, I got the job, stayed there 3 years. There was a similar situation like Crossett. Like they had, I mean, they were not good at all. So I was 22 years old, never coached before, leading two programs that didn't win prior to that. And so it was a learning experience for me, but probably the best because I got to grow, I got to mature in the game. You know, being a head coach at 22 years old is scary. You've never done it before, had no coaching
Yeah.
experience. But what sold me on coming home was the fact that one of my mentors always told me that you never leave a program the way you found it. And so going into league, they had only won one game in 6 years, both junior and high school. I mean, it was bad. And, you know, all 3 years I was there, we never finished last in the conference. We made it to North Half State, the high school teams. All 3 years I was there. Junior high, we finished, you know, we made it to the district tournament championship game twice. So I knew that it was time for me to go. It was hard because I had developed so many relationships with those girls, but I didn't think I was coming back to Crossett. I never, you know, imagined coming back home. And then I got a phone call from the superintendent, and he just asked me, you know, just to come talk to him. And at first I was like, I don't want to go back home. I knew it was time for me to leave Lee, but I didn't necessarily want to come back to CrossFit. But honestly, when I came and talked to Mr. Williams, I was sold. I mean, we talked for 3 hours about life. We really didn't talk about basketball.
Wow.
We just talked about the community aspect, and I knew that I was heavily involved in that community at Lee, in Clarksdale, and I wanted something similar. So having the opportunity to come back home, I really wasn't worried about, you know, the program being, you know, bad because I had previously was in that position. So I knew that I had what it took to, you know, change some things. But I mean, just feeling like I had an administration to have my back. And Mr. Williams really sold me on that he supported athletics because he was a basketball coach himself. So I think that that in itself sealed the deal for me because my sisters had graduated in 2015, so I wasn't going to be able to coach them. But that was really the biggest piece, being able to work for someone who I felt like would trust me to change the culture, because you don't find that too often with superintendents really caring about athletics. And so that really sold me.
As Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz would say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. But sorry, I just had to throw it out there. But you talk about you put it Delta State. Talk about the Gulf South Conference. You know, when you put it Delta State, I know they play like CBU here locally in Memphis.
Yeah.
You know, and talk about those playing days.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back. It was nothing like putting on that green and white jersey when I was there my senior year.
What's their mascot again? Fried okra or something?
We're actually the States, Lady Statesman.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's the statesman, John. It's the fighting okra is like a little, it's like an alternate mascot.
Yeah, it's
I
not
knew it was
super
coming.
mascot.
I'm sorry, I threw it out there. But.
No, it's okay, but it was amazing, electrifying. I mean, everybody knows that Delta State has a great tradition of success. My senior year, I mean, was amazing. We made it to the Elite Eight. We were ranked number 9 in the nation. My team was really good. I mean, it was just amazing playing for my coach. I mean, he was my mentor. He was like a father figure, you know, growing up without my dad. And, you know, he just stepped in and believed in me as a point guard. He really helped prepare me for where I am now. So I think that was the biggest takeaway that I could say playing at Delta State was playing for a coach like what I had. And I think that's why I aspire to be who I am to my players, just more than their coach, but like a mentor and, you know, a mother figure to them. But I love Delta State. I always, you know, try to go back and catch a couple games, but I think our biggest rival had to be either Christian Brothers,
Yeah.
which we never lost to them, or West Alabama. That was a big rival.
You know, Wes, I don't know if you know this.
I like
Interesting.
how she made sure she threw in there that she never lost Christian Brothers. I like that. Go ahead.
Wes, did you know this interesting fact? Speaking of Christian Brothers, first of all, Delta State is not only a baseball school, it is a basketball school as well.
Yeah.
People don't
Mhm.
really know the history behind Delta
Yep.
State,
Right.
like as much as us three right here.
Right.
But they have been to the NCAA tournament
Right.
year in, year out on the baseball field and the basketball court as well. And there's an interesting fact I'm going to throw out there to you, Wes. Now the men's basketball coach at Delta State is the former CBU coach from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's been there for like 30 plus years, Coach Nick
Really?
Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as Memphis fans, we used to
Really,
watch our
Coach Neighbors is down there. I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not realize he was down there. That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, coming to Memphis, John, I drive right by Delta State every time I come to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you look at Crossett, let's get back to Crossett real quick. When you look at the program you've got built now,
Mm-hmm.
of course you've kind of went through your lumps. You've kind of your freshman class the first year you're here is now your seniors.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking forward to moving forward into the rest of this season and then also into next season and beyond?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have only 4 seniors from that freshman class when I first got here, but most people don't know that I have also 3 freshmen that are on my high school team. Um, I had to
Oh,
move them
wow.
up because we don't have the numbers. So all three start. So moving forward, I know that our seniors with their tenure, they'll be able to. I feel like we have a strong chance of going back to the regional tournament. I mean, it's going to be tough, but I feel like the pieces that we have with my best senior guards coming back, returning this year, like we have a really huge chance. And after they leave, I feel like we have a great chance to be good for a while because of those freshmen that I did move up, but also the freshmen that I left down. They're really good as well. So I mean, we have a bright future, moving forward years ahead. But the only thing that I could say that I wish um, would change or I could help is starting a Pee Wee program because right now I only have 8 on my high school basketball team. My numbers have always been really low since I've been here. It's hard to get girls to come out and play basketball. I don't know why, but that's the only thing that I wish that I could change. And I think that it's starting a Pee Wee program to get girls really involved in it much earlier, much sooner than the 7th grade. Because I feel like if you start in the 7th grade, it's kind of too late. You're kind of already almost behind the 8 ball because
Yeah.
everyone else has started, years before you. So, but for those of those that do stick it out in the from the 7th grade on out, I really, have a lot of respect for them because it's tough coming in because I have a 7th grader now that starts on my junior high team.
Oh, wow.
And, it's tough for her not ever playing basketball, but she's trying to learn the game and be a starter at the same time. So I think, moving forward, as long as I am here in Crossett, I think that there's something that I want to start at some point, but it won't be this summer because I'll be having my baby.
Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah, somebody's got a baby on the way. Is that correct, Coach? Somebody's got a little one on the way.
Yes, that is correct.
Sorry, now you're like, yeah, I didn't want you to bring that up.
Breaking news, Wes.
No, it's not breaking news. It's been known. It's quite evident. It's been known.
No, I'm talking about on our show.
It's not a secret, John. She knows.
No, I'm talking about me.
But Coach, when you look at John and I talked about it. We actually asked Dominic the same question. Of course, here it's a little different because he is the only men's basketball coach, and you are the only women's basketball coach. So obviously, you keep the same system, middle school to high school. In my opinion, I think that is a must at any school is to keep the same program, same play calls, same everything, so that, like you said, when you run into a situation where you've got to bring somebody up, it should be a smooth transition to the high school level. What are some bright spots about CrossFit that the nation does not know that you would like for them to know?
That we have some talented athletes, not just on the court, but in the classroom. One of my seniors has a 4.1 GPA. She's actually looking to sign at ASU Mid South here pretty soon. I mean, Jada Cooks. We have another, and I'm also the head track coach. I don't know if I told you, but like my athletes are like
We'll get there.
five, five-star athletes, not just in
We'll
one
talk about track.
no, not just in one sport,
We
but
do research, coach. We know.
I see that, but I just want people to realize that CrossFit is a gold mine. I mean, we have the athletes that you're seeing on TV, playing, but I guess we just don't get the exposure that most get, and I think that's why. For me, when I was coming up, it was the same thing. Nobody really uh, broadcasted CrossFit basketball just because we're just known for a track school. Everyone knows that, in baseball. And so I wish just the nation would know that we have five-star athletes who are capable of playing on the next level for sure.
Well, you already talked about one of your seniors looking at Arkansas Mid South. Talk about your other players that might be getting some looks as well.
Well, one of them, another senior, she has the opportunity to play basketball, but I'm pretty sure she's going to run track in college. She's a stud, Anaya Jones, and a freshman that I haven't talked about, Cedriana Gillum. She's leading us in scoring. She's averaging 16 points a game as a freshman.
Wow.
She is going to be something to watch, someone for people to keep up with. I'm pretty sure she's going to be heavily recruited. She's an outstanding athlete in basketball as well as track. I mean, she loves basketball. Her heart is in it. Um, so I think that she's going to be one that's going to go really far. She has a really bright future.
Awesome. See, you talked about. Sorry, Wes. I was gonna say she also brought a good, interesting point.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I said she made an interesting, good point. Regarding the Pee Wee point of view as well, because a lot of schools here locally and across the country these days, I've been looking at, don't even start with the freshman team or even have a JV squad at all. Most schools, like small schools or big schools, just have girls that start on varsity as a ninth grader, and not enough girls do come out for girls basketball. To me, like we talked about with Coach Shapley, last week, Wes, a lot of girls don't get enough credit, even at a middle school level or even at a high school level, don't get enough credit across the country. I enjoy watching women's basketball, girls basketball, because they don't get enough credit as it is. They're like, okay, well, it could be a boring game or, it might be a snooze fest or something similar to that. They don't get enough credit.
Right.
When we had the NCAA tournament here at one year for the women's basketball, I almost went because I had tickets, but something came up at the last minute because I enjoy watching women's basketball. There's so many great coaches in the high school ranks, even to the college ranks, year in, year out.
Yep.
And the reason I'm bringing college up now is because what college coaches what college coaches do you actually like to watch a lot of film on and like study by?
Kim Mulkey for sure, and Don Staley. They're amazing. They're great. Just being tenacious, both of them also being college athletes themselves, but I just admire their will to be more than just coaches to their players, their mentors, they're like moms. And I think that in itself, they're gritty on the defensive end. I was defensive player of the year at Delta State. And so, and I also keep up with my head coach. Now he's at Austin P. We talk at least twice a week. So, he keeps me in the know of, different things or different strategies that I know I can bounce off of him. So him and his name is David Millett, him and Kim Mulkey for sure. I love Baylor's program. I love what Coach Don Staley is doing at South Carolina. Just the grit and just that powerhouse of teaching their student athletes to be just strong, fierce, mentally tough, and definitely the defensive minded aspect of the game.
And of course, you got good old Gino out there.
Right.
Man, that guy's incredible. I actually got a chance to watch Pat Summit coach, and I'm not a UT fan at all. I hate him. But I got a chance to watch Pat Summit coach one time, not very long prior to her death. And when I say that, I mean one of her last coaching games. Watching her on the sidelines, coach, I watched you last season. It was a JV game. y'all have some similarities, Coach. I just want to tell you, y'all work that sideline. I have noticed that between you and I watched Dominic the other night. Y'all work it. I mean, it's kind of like Calipari esque. I mean, no, nobody's pulling you back yet.
Right.
But is there a coach that you might? I don't want to say emulate your style after because I mean I know you want to make it your own, but is there coaches around the country like Mike Neighbors here in Arkansas, people like that you might maybe emulate a little?
I think Kim Mulkey because we dress alike, we wear the heels, we squat a lot. Don't sit much. If we are sitting, it's not in a chair, it's squatting. And we're short, we wear high heels. We're gonna dress classy, but we're still gonna coach our girls. It doesn't matter what we have on. And we work the sidelines. So definitely her for sure.
Coach, I hate to say this to you, but talk about last night y'all lost the game to a good opponent in that game, 44-34, if I'm not mistaken. Can you just talk about last night's basketball game a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. We just could not make a basket. The game before we shot 68% from the field. That's what I was telling Wes. And then you go last night, we couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, we had them. We were at first we started off getting to the basket. They were in the penalty in the first quarter, and we couldn't make a free throw. I mean, we just struggled all night long to score. And I mean, you have those nights. And I told them even before the game, hey, if we don't shoot it well tonight, keep playing. We got to get some stops on defense, whether that's getting buckets in transition. I mean, things just didn't go our way offensively. And I mean, it was just tough mentally for the girls to really, get out of that slump. But I know for sure it was a learning experience for us. And I think that, sometimes I tell my players all the time, losses have a way of awakening you. Losses have a way of, redirecting you. And, because we had just came off a 35-point win against Monticello 2 days prior. So, sometimes wins like that can get you a little laxed. But I think we'll be able to go back and watch film and analyze and be ready to revamp for Tuesday's game against Camden.
Coach, looking forward to next week. I know you've got a game. What's it? Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday? Is that correct? Next week, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking forward to next week. Uh, Give me a little bit of what you're looking for your girls to be ready for. And speaking of that loss, in my opinion, a lot of times a loss like that actually turns into more wins, just because
Absolutely.
of its teaching tool and exactly what it teaches you. Because hard times makes harder people is what I think. But
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit about the three big games next week, right across the street from my house, actually, at the Crossett Gymnasium?
Yes. So Tuesday will be versus a really talented but young Camden Fairview team. We split last year with them. Um, they're going to be very athletic. They're going to play man to man. They're going to press a lot. So that'll be probably a fast paced game. And then we got Star City state champions coming in. That's
Yeah.
going to be tough. I mean, they're a powerhouse. I mean, I've only beat Becky Yarborough one time, and that was last year in the junior high district championship. Oh, it felt amazing. But her team, I mean, junior high and high school, they're well coached. I mean, she really doesn't have to do much. They're a great team. I mean, I feel like they might be contenders to win the state championship again. So Wednesday is going to be tough, but it's going to
Wow.
prepare us for the postseason. And then Friday is our biggest rival, Hamburg. I think that'll be a good game. It always
I can't
is.
wait for that game Friday night. That's gonna be fun.
It's going to be electrifying in the gym. So we have three, good games coming up, three big games, three key games, leading into conference, the second week of conference play. So, we're excited. And I mean, it's going to be a long week, but we'll be prepared though for each game for sure.
Um, I know it's been a crazy year with COVID and everything. I know a lot of fans are used to these big. I mean, a lot of players might be used to these bigger crowds at these games. Like a rival game like y'all have next Friday, where it could pack like 3,000 people, for example.
Right.
In that, what can you tell these players? Hey, it's not a bigger crowd like we are used to with the noise and whatnot. How can these players react to maybe like a smaller type crowd rather than a bigger crowd in a rivalry game like that?
Well, I tell my players anyway, no matter where we go, no matter if it's two people in the gym, no matter if it's 1,000 in the gym, the only people that matter are the ones that suit up, the ones that are sitting on your bench, which is your teammates and your coaches. I try to tell them like, let's eliminate the distractions because sometimes crowds can be a distraction. So we really don't try to get in the hype of who's there, who's not there. But I know it is hard. I'm thankful that we do have fans because fans do play a role, in the game, especially when you go on a run. But I just try to, keep that balance with them and keep reminding them that, what's most important are, your teammates, staying focused on what's going on between the sidelines. So, we don't get caught up in it because a game like Friday night against your rival, if you get caught up in the crowd and who's there and who's not, I mean, it could be a distraction, especially for a young team, like we are with starting three freshmen. You can get caught up in that and, lose sight of the game plan and lose focus. So I just try to remind them that, hey, no matter if we have 10 fans coming to support us on the road or we have 100 fans, or if the band is there, if the cheerleader's not there, like, let's stay focused on the game plan.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Um, John, go ahead. Or do you have anything else, John? Are you
I do,
good?
but you go next. Go ahead. You're the host.
Okay. Okay. When you look at Crossett and like John and I have talked about, like you and I have talked about, Coach. Um, like I've told you and John before, I want this show to be a show where you can come on. Possibly, I can get with you after a game, do a quick post game interview after a game, things of that nature. Uh, for the city of Crossett, what is something that you would like me to bring to them as far as the athletic program?
Mhm. Well, I mean, we all know that our football team has a huge following. We just want the same energy, the same respect, the same regard, the same love for our basketball programs because at the end of the day, it's CrossFit, whether it be CrossFit football, CrossFit baseball, CrossFit basketball. These are students who, work hard in the community, work hard in the schools, who want that same love and support. So, I mean, if you could just bring awareness to the community of how important their support will be, whether it's coming to a basketball game, whether it's, supporting a student athlete in whatever way. Just letting them know that, coming to the games, watching the game live, listening to it on the radio, sharing something on their social media page about, a game or something like that. I think that'll be very important because our students, our players, they deserve that. They deserve that support.
Yeah.
And it's things that you remember, after high school. You remember that support, the love, and the fans that showed up to your games, and who were active as you were a student athlete in high school. So just helping bring that awareness of your show, your sports show, and how we can get more fans involved to support our basketball programs.
See, Wes, you
All
just
right, go
nailed it
ahead, John.
on. Yeah, Wes, you just nailed it, and Coach, you just nailed it also because I do part radio with Bartlett High School here locally whenever I'm not working because we do deserve these kids do deserve a lot more credit on and off the court or on and off the field because they put it in a good 40. That's a full time job,
It is.
week in week out because they are away from home 40 hours a week tops or even more between games and practices. To me, these kids deserve a lot of credit. They do. They really do.
They do. And they're expected to be great in the classroom. Getting home late. We got home after 1 o'clock last night, and now our students have to study all weekend for their finals their semester test next week. And we got 3 games next week on top of them. Having to practice. We still got film, and so I don't think that a lot of people are really aware of what it takes to be a student athlete, whether it be for a major program, whether the program is successful or not. So as you said, like these kids really do deserve more support. They do.
Well,
Yeah,
if
and I
you ever
mean,
need,
and then
yeah,
now, I mean, oh, I
go
mean,
ahead,
like,
Wes.
but what I just want to say real quick. I mean, now, like with Bree being a teacher, she does virtual, so
Mhm.
you've got that aspect of it too. Where I mean, I don't know how the athletes do virtual or in classroom, but still,
They do both.
virtual is not in classroom. It's completely different. It's a whole nother ball game. That's an extra added change for these kids that they're not used to, and as well as the teachers.
Absolutely. And they're still
Well,
expected
you're a
to.
teacher, you already know what I'm saying.
Yes, and they're still expected to do just as well. And I think a lot of times as adults, we don't understand, like, how we sometimes struggle and adapt to change. So that's why I commend these student athletes who are just, going with the flow of all the changes due to COVID and how they're just adapting to being virtual, getting games canceled. It's a lot. It's
COVID
overwhelming.
testing.
It can become overwhelming.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, like I told you before, I
Go ahead,
appreciate
John.
I said, like, I appreciate you, coming on with me and Wes as well. Like I said, from a high school broadcaster / fan to anything at all, I appreciate everything that you do for your city of Crossett. I live 4 hours away from y'all, so it's hard for me to catch a
It's
game live.
Crossett.
Or
It's Crossett. It's not Crossett.
okay,
Don't
Wes, I'm
start.
sorry.
That's a no-no here in town. Just saying. Tell him, Shanae, it's a no-no. You don't do that.
But yeah, I just want to say I appreciate everything that you do for high school basketball all across the country for girls basketball. Like we talked about this a few minutes ago, y'all don't get enough credit as it is as a whole. Coaching is a full-time job as well, and teaching as well. So I appreciate everything that you do 4 hours away from me. So if you ever needed any Memphis connections or Memphis games in general in the near future, you know who to hook up, me and Wes, because we know our Memphis connections as well. Pretty good.
Right. That means a lot. I mean, I appreciate people like you and Wes for, just taking the time, being concerned, wanting to promote basketball, not just basketball programs, but sports, period, and coaches and, their teams. It means a lot. And I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the connections. I'm looking forward to continuously, getting to know y'all and just, giving y'all the updates on the team. Thank you for following us. And our games will be streamed live next week. They're going to stream them live. I think it'll be on crossetlive.org maybe, or come. I don't know. I'll get it to Wes. Our students are going to stream them live next week. So we'll get that information out to you.
I know there's a crosseteagles.live website that they use for football.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same one they'll use for basketball. I would assume it probably is.
Mhm.
It actually runs pretty well. John, you can log on and you hit play and boom, there it is. It's actually runs pretty. It streams pretty seamlessly. But Coach Williams, thank you very much.
I was looking, Wes.
Ahead,
I was
John.
looking forward to your videos. What are you talking about?
Well, I know, Doug, trust me, I can do them too. And I will. It's fine. I really need to just get me like a little table and a backdrop, and I can just set up a little studio there inside the gym if they'll allow me. I don't know. I got to dot some I's and cross some T's with some people here in CrossFit before we get to that point. But, Coach Williams,
you need to put it as a 4-star sports show and say this is for Coach Williams.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get all that stuff taken care of. I think that's going to be pretty easy to get taken care of, honestly. But Coach Williams, thank you very much for being on the show with us this afternoon for just the short period of time that we have been on. From one Crossettian to another one, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Go Eagles, and I will make sure that we have you back on the show coming up very, very shortly. Good luck next week in the next 3 games, and I will definitely see you across the street at the basketball gym.
Good deal. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Thank you so much.
No problem. You too.
Thank you guys for watching on Facebook, YouTube, and also listening on iHeartRadio. We are the